Well, hello, and here I am again. I'd like to present to you something different today, and I'd like to look at pronunciation. Pronunciation is a very important aspect of it, of our language, and without it we're lost. My name is Raymond Groslitsky. I'm co-founder and CEO of League of Linguists, and I've been in language learning and training for a few decades. Let's see how we get on with this one. This one I'd like to entitle Intonation in Spoken English. So I'm going to touch on how conversational English works, and then finish up by looking at something in the area of speeches. Just to touch it a little bit, because it's a whole other area. But we'll start with this. So, first question is, what is intonation? That is actually a fairly easy one to answer, and the Cambridge Dictionary says the sound changes produced by the rise and fall of the voice when speaking, especially when this has an effect on the meaning of what is said. Fair enough. But it's all rather bland. There's a little bit more to that, and I would add also it puts emphasis on particular words to highlight their importance to the overall conversation. And I'll show you what I mean. So, let's start by asking this question: which words are stressed the most? This is not an exhaustive list, but I'll start with these: subject, object, verb, adjective, so demonstratives and things as well included in that. And those things go without needing to be said, but there are other things in there as well, and we'll take a little look in detail. So, I'm going to give you an example, and in order to do this is an extreme example of how to use intonation by looking at an argument or debate where different opinions come in. So, here's the question. Excuse me, where's the nearest bakery, please? As you're listening to that, you can hear that there are various stresses going on in there already. So the words in red are the words which I'm going to use as I'm going to give for stress. The words in yellow will be unstressed. And what we can see in that already is we can add questions to this list. So if I go back, you'll see what I mean. Where? Question words are things that we can add to this list. Okay. So, where is the nearest bakery, please? And in here, the word bakery is the main stress. So we have two types of stress. We have weak stresses and strong stresses, what you might call main stress and minor stresses, or major stresses, and whatever you like to call it. I'm sure there's a technical term used by different universities that are fighting over what to use. Doesn't really matter. The main stress. Okay. So the answer comes in here. Let me think. The bakery is at the end of George Street. So what we're going on here. Let me think. The bakery is at the end of George Street. As we listen to that sentence, where now have we got the main stress? Well, the fact is we've spoken about the bakery, and it's going to be at the end of a street, isn't it? So George Street is the main stress in this one. But the first part, let me think. People might say that think is also a main stress. And now the reply comes in. No, the bakery is at the end of George Avenue. Well, now we've moved the stress, we've moved it from George, and it's gone to Avenue. And also, we have one word. No! If you have one word, it's not stressed. It is stressed. Can't be anything else. Try and say a one-word sentence without stressing it. No, can't do it. So we can add into this single-word statements. Right, let's go on. Then the reply comes, wrong! The bakery is in the middle of George Avenue. So now we've got middle. We've moved the stress again. Moving around all the time. And then the final reply in this argument, nope. The butcher is in the middle of George Avenue, but the bakery is at the end. Now, in this one, we've got various things going on, and it's separated by the comma. So there's a main stress on each side of the comma. Butcher on one side and end on the other, because those are the things which have changed the most. Those are the things which have, which the speaker wishes to change in terms of the facts from what the previous speakers have said. And this is the perfect way of highlighting that. So, added to this, we can put changes to any of the elements below on that list you see in front of you. There are other ones as well, of course. These are the main ones, and it really will help you to think about it in terms of just the major words in a sentence. So then let's come on to look at the nature of English intonation, shall we? So what I'd like to do is to take a simple sentence like this: do you like carrots? And see it being pronounced in 4 different ways, putting the stress on each one of those words. So we can have it stress on like, we can have it on carrots, we can have it on you, we can have it on do, and in each case there is a different meaning to it. So let's take the first one. Do you like carrots? If I say, do you like carrots? If someone says that to you, what's the context behind it? What do you think has gone on before? Well, it could be that the speaker is commenting on the listener's handling of the carrots on their plate. So, the person might be fiddling around, pushing them to the side. Do you like carrots? Or maybe they've just taken a huge spoonful or 3 spoonfuls of carrots from the table to put on their plate. Do you like carrots? Okay, what about putting the stress on carrots? Well, this is a simple one. This is where I would say probably 90% of speakers are going to put the emphasis. It's on the object. Do you like carrots? The speaker simply wants to know about the listener's preference. You're coming to dinner tomorrow night. Do you like carrots? Just to let you know. How about if I put it on you? Do you like carrots? What's going on now? Well, it's probably that the speaker asked somebody before and is now asking a second person. So she likes carrots, but do you like carrots? And then this one is a tricky one for many people. It's worth thinking about though. Do you like carrots? Do you like carrots? This is one which is really not used very much at all. It's very, very seldom. And it would be when the speaker had asked before, but is unsure if a clear answer was given. I think I asked this before, but do you like carrots? This is not even really, you can't even really hear the do being stressed so much. But this is the nature of English. Moving on, I'd like to tackle the idea of non-stressed words in a sentence. What types of words aren't normally stressed? And to do this, I've got in front of us now a sentence. We'll see what we go on. So, this is Peter Russell, current head of the True Democracy Task Force. And this is Fiona Franklin, who will be replacing him at the task force in the spring. So, what I've done is this. I've put the red bits as the stressed parts and the yellow bits as the non-stressed parts. And we can see them more clearly now, because quite often the non-stressed parts are the bits which are not actually spoken about, but they're very important. I'll say it again. This is Peter Russell, current head of the True Democracy Task Force, and this is Fiona Franklin, who will be replacing him in the task force in the spring. So, what types of words in this are being unstressed or are not stressed? So we've got auxiliary verbs. I might have to move my little face over the other side in a minute. Auxiliary verbs, so those are highlighted there, underlined. Prepositions, is, will be, etc. I'm going to move myself over there. And then prepositions will be at and in this case. Conjunctions and articles, so things like the and. Repetition of content, so in this case task force, we've said it once, if you say it again it doesn't need to be stressed so much in such a short distance since it was last said. Pronouns, so things like him, her, whatever, don't really need it, not all the time, it especially not. So now I've got this out of the way, let's have a look at it again. This is Peter Russell, current head of the True Democracy Task Force. And this is Fiona Franklin, who will be replacing him at the task force in the spring. as you can hear, there's much more emphasis on those other parts, but you can't have one without the other. That's how English works. And the other thing to be said about this is English is spoken in the way like a railway train. It goes from stress to unstress, stress to unstress, ding to ding, ding to ding to ding to ding to ding to ding. And this is simply the nature of the word order of English. It goes from having an important word to a less important word to an important word again to a less important word, all the way through in order to keep things going. And this is why English is such a good language to sing in, because it has the perfect, let's say, intonation to allow one to go up and down, etc. Although I would say contemporary music is better to sing in than opera. Opera doesn't sound so good when it's done in English. Just my opinion. Moving on. Can auxiliaries actually be stressed? Well, yes, they can. I'll give you an idea. They can be stressed, for example, when there are short answers like, yes, I do. No, it isn't. I'm going to move myself back. There we go. When contradicting a previous statement, for example, but he does like carrots. That's also a possibility to do it in that way. So you can actually stress many of the words which are normally unstressed, which is why I used the word normally. If you go back, you'll see I did. Going on, how can I train myself to give a perfect speech? So let's tackle this. So when we're actually trying to perform, and we want to make sure that the people that our audience understands the message I'm trying to convey, we really need to deliver it properly. Therefore, having just the plain text in front of us might not always work. So there are various things that we can do. Firstly, print your speech in full. I mean print it on paper. And then use different colours to mark out the words that you want to stress. So that you can underline them to see whether there's something you want to stress more in sentences where maybe the stress would normally be in another place, that type of thing, just to really highlight it. I mean, yeah, you can do this on the screen if you like, and you can use different colours as well. I'm just giving you the idea of it being on paper because sometimes, most of the time, people give speeches in front of an audience with a lectern. Draw arrows or lines where your voice should go up or down in intonation, for example, in a question or in a surprising point. That really does help on all types of things like that. So where you really want to go up and down, try it. Of course, there's another solution. Hire a coach for a few hours to run through the details with you. It's always a good one to do. I'm available for 1 hour to 10 hours, whatever you'd like. And practice it until you feel ready. That's the most important thing. Practice, practice, practice. Okay, good. So, thank you very much for watching. We'll go into more detail another time. Our email address is info@lowlinguists.com. You can like, comment or share on any of those usual places, Facebook, Twitter and LinkedIn. And I'll see you another time. Ciao.